kind of happened in that, because I've been like bumped out of almost all my
Me
accounts.
too.
So I'm sitting and watching. We might already be broadcasting, so.
It just requires, patience.
Hello, and welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Chris, and I'm pleased to welcome all of you to the Unity of Fredericksburg weekly online gathering. At Unity of Fredericksburg, we're advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. We thank those of you watching on YouTube now or later, and we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're able to attend live, we encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room. You'll get the full Sunday morning experience, including prayer, music, and connection. Our weekly newsletter includes the Sunday service link, and you can subscribe to receive that on our website at uofva.org. For everyone local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in-person gatherings every month. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter at uofva.org for all the details. Our message today comes from our minister, Reverend Cheryl Fair. And now, here's Reverend Cheryl.
Thank you, Chris. And welcome to everyone who is with us on Zoom and watching on YouTube. We have a different format today. I'd say like twice a year we do a hybrid format. So I'm here in the room with a whole collection of wonderful people, and we're also with you online. So welcome, and welcome everyone. So the past in the room here, we have a cuckoo clock, so we get to hear that in the room. I imagine Zoom has probably filtered that out for you. So leading up to today, we've been in the fourth quarter of 2025. And our focus has been practical application of unity principles. Like, how do we use these principles from day to day? So in the fourth quarter, we had a couple of specific topics. So we spent 2 weeks talking about how to apply these principles when it comes to healing. And we spent 2 weeks applying them to the overall concept of prosperity or the flow of good. And so we're kind of wrapping all that up today. And as I like to say, like sealing it in gratitude. Because next week we'll be off to the races with the holiday season started, because next Sunday is the first Sunday of Advent. So, so today we're focusing on gratitude. And we're also talking about gratitude because, of course, Thursday is Thanksgiving. And here in the US, I was looking to see if we have anyone from outside the US with us right now, at least not in the Zoom room. But so beyond any of the history, whether correct or incorrect, around Thanksgiving, we can be grateful that we do live in a country where there's actually a national holiday that's dedicated to being thankful, to being grateful. And isn't that a wonderful thing? And I want you to know that that holiday came about through the dedication and work of one particular person in the 1800s. She was an American writer named Sarah Josepha Hale. And she's the one that kind of, kept pushing, wanting to have it. And also, she is most famous also for having written Mary Had a Little Lamb. Yeah. Yes. So she kept sending letters to President Abraham Lincoln. And in 1863, Abraham Lincoln established Thanksgiving as a national holiday. And the intention was to promote healing in a nation that was dealing with the Civil War. So that's when Thanksgiving really started. Now, when it comes to us and Thanksgiving, it can be easy for us to get kind of a bit overwhelmed as we start off the holiday season, whether you're cooking a meal or there tends to be lots of special events and concerts and things, for the holiday season. So it's good for us to just take some time, like we're going to do this morning, and just look at gratitude. And we're going to look at kind of 4 different scenarios for how gratitude can show up in our lives today. So the first scenario that I want to propose will be for those of you who like to reference scripture in your life, who like to have a real basis for that. So we need look no further than the example that Jesus gives us in all of the stories that are in the Bible that involve a miracle or something. There's a specific pattern that is always shows up in scripture. So and we know that in unity, we look at Jesus as an example. And he was pretty clear because he said, everything that I can do, you can do. And so he shows us an example of how to use gratitude. So if you look at the story of the feeding of the 5,000, it very clearly says that first what he did, they will refer to, he looks to heaven or looks to, so basically connects with the divine nature that he is. And of course, we all have that within us, connects with divine nature and gives thanks. And then gets to work with what's to be done in the outer world. Same thing with the raising of Lazarus. He looks to heaven, so connects with divine nature, gives thanks. Sometimes it's written as blessing thing, and then gets to business. So this is an example that we can use. This pattern, it shows us what we can do, whatever it is that's showing up in our life that feels like too much right now, whether it's personal or something you've seen on the news or whatever it is, that this is a pattern that works. So, whatever it is that's coming up for you, as I mentioned, like things that might be a bit much in your life, just think about that and ask yourself, what is there to be grateful for in that scenario? And there always is, right? There always is, even if you take it from that kind of macro level. So, a lot of people my age grew up with the message at dinner time, well, you have to eat everything on your plate because kids are starving in Africa. Whether you heard that at your house or heard other people, I mean, like, so this was a well-intentioned thing that parents of that generation were do to try to remind you to be grateful for the food that you have. It kind of had a backwards effect, but sometimes you really need to do that with yourself around whatever the situation is. Like, look, you have clothes, right? You probably have a mode of transportation. You probably have a place to live. You've got food on your plate. Get yourself straight. Like, rather than dwelling in whatever feels like it's going wrong, let's start by practicing gratitude. All right. So here's a good quote on gratitude from Eric Butterworth, Unity Minister Eric Butterworth. Gratitude is the key to the universe, for it opens the door to the flow of abundance. Key to the universe opens the door to the flow of abundance. And we've been working a lot with our 12 powers this year. So I would just like to mention that what comes up for me, I'm kind of, fitting in all of the 12 powers in my talk. So what comes to mind for me when it comes to dealing with situations in our day-to-day lives is faith that there is good present, that there are things to be grateful for, tapping into our power of imagination, because a lot of times our human eyes give us very clear data that there's not enough, right? And what we need to do is claim that power of imagination to see beyond that, because there are infinite possibilities beyond what our human eyes can see. If we're just living from what we see from our human senses, we are going to have a very limited and unhappy existence. And also the power of power. So claiming your good, claiming what you're grateful for in whatever that scenario is that's coming up for you. All right. Our second scenario is I'm calling exercising the muscle of gratitude. So, in a recent message that came out from Silent Unity, the director of Silent Unity, Reverend Teresa Burton, she wrote a little essay comparing having a gratitude practice with physical exercise. And she pointed out that it's like, okay, if you decide I'm going to exercise and you go to the gym or you do whatever your exercise is and you just do it once, does that really give you fitness? No. It might make you sore the next day and less likely to go the day after that. So consistency is key. Just like with exercise, with gratitude, consistency is key. That you are, it creates resilience. It gives you that capacity to bounce back. Just like when you exercise to keep your body healthy, you need to work your gratitude muscle. Now, I'm somebody that's very much into exercise. I pretty much exercise every day. And as many of you know, I recently had a surgery. And if I know something like that's coming, I'm actually going to train up. And oops, I bumped this. Sorry, people online. I'll actually kind of train up to get as fit as I can before going into surgery. And then basically after this past surgery, in week 1, I probably started adding exercise back in on day 4, gently. And like week 2, I was walking again. Week 3, I was back at the gym. Week 4, I'm sitting here with you. So, that kind of just attention to exercising the body. And in this case, we're talking about exercising that muscle of gratitude. Don't wait to use gratitude in just the emergency situation, right? Like, oh, I'm going to practice gratitude now that things have really gone off the rails. It's like, use it every day. So, whatever it is that's coming up for you when I talk about situations in your life, again, ask yourself, what is it in this? What do I have to be grateful for in this scenario or just life in general? So here's a quote from Unity founder Myrtle Fillmore on gratitude. Praise and thanksgiving open the way for more good to come into your life. So as you practice that gratitude, you are creating space to find more good. The more you're practicing being grateful for things, the more you're opening the door to finding more. So this is to look at our 12 powers. This is a wonderful example of the power of order, which is like minding those, what is the next best step? And very often the next best step is to be grateful, is to really kind of take time and count up all those wonderful things that you have to be grateful for. And also using that power of gratitude as, thinking of it as a muscle. Of course, that aligns with our power of strength, right? And our power of strength allows us to stay anchored in what we believe is true in spite of whatever storms might be swirling around us. And I'm also connecting it with our power of zeal, our power of enthusiasm. So, in order to tap into that enthusiasm, we need to be practicing it and have some enthusiasm for doing that. So, tapping into our power of zeal. All right. So, the next scenario I want to look at is how gratitude works for us in crisis. So, we've been talking about kind of the day to day, keeping ourselves kind of, exercising that muscle so that it's ready when we need it. So, when that thing happens, and you really do need to be practicing that gratitude. How does this work? Now, we all have our notions of what a crisis might be. And, in a day to day, it could be something like a flat tire. In a larger scope, it could be something a lot more serious than that. So, in my life, my bar is pretty high for what is a crisis because of the things that I've been through in my life. And I will frequently, when I talk about gratitude, I'll talk about how the practice of gratitude that I learned in Unity helped me get through what I would say is the most serious thing that I've been through, which is having a child with a brain tumor. Now, my oldest child is now 32 years old and she's a registered nurse. And so I want to say that at the outset, because when I say that, a lot of times, so, but, uh, so I will often say that that practice of gratitude got me through that, but it's like, okay, how does that work? What does that, what does that mean? So when you have something like that going on, the things to worry about are seemingly infinite. Are there? Yes, just so many things to be worried about. So many, from like, did I do something? What about this? What if this happened? What if that happened? So it feels just overwhelming. And for me, dealing with having a 6-year-old going through brain surgery more than once, a second grader in radiation treatments, and the possibility of having her, go blind, all of these things were things that I was dealing with. But I had chosen this gratitude practice that I had learned in Unity, and I kind of had a rule for myself, like if you can't say, that you're thankful, then you just need to keep your mouth shut. And that was just kind of my internal, it's like, so what that did was kind of train my brain to be able to see that everything that she needed for this process was there for her. All the right doctors, all the right technicians, everything, friends, family, everything was, this was her process. I'm kind of standing as a caregiver to the side, holding her hand, doing worrying, whatever. But everything that she needed to do this was there for her. And I was able to see that because I was practicing gratitude. So that sort of kind of helped to balance out all of the things that had to be done as a parent to help her and to care for her. So, and sometimes you are a caregiver to someone and it's their path, right? It's their path and you can kind of walk hand in hand with them, but it's theirs to do. And I mean, I know that I had a sense that her path that she was going through at that point would have meaning for her in her life. And sure enough, in her mid-20s, she all of a sudden was like, I want to take my experience and help other people. And she became a nurse. And so she's now doing that. And I wouldn't have been able to realize any of that if I wasn't practicing gratitude, because I would have been in the weeds of all of the things to worry about. So that's how it can work for you in crisis, is that if you already have that gratitude muscle well toned and you keep it going through whatever crisis is showing up, then it gives you the capacity to see all the good that's there that you would be blind to if you're just counting on your human brain to manage everything. So we're being encouraged to practice gratitude from day to day so we're nice and fit. So when the big stuff happens, so ask yourself, what is there to be grateful for in this moment today? Be practicing that so that when stuff happens, you can use it at that point too. You know how to do it. It's kind of like knowing the steps, right? Knowing the steps to the dance. You've been doing the dance. You know your choreography. You know how to play the song. You know how to do whatever it is. And then under crisis, then you still have all those muscles are well developed and you can manage your way through things that are serious too. So here's a quote from an author named Harriet Mullen from The Art of Seeing Again. Thankfulness doesn't require everything to be perfect. It only asks us to recognize what is precious. So we all have stuff going on, right? So, gratitude doesn't mean that it's like, la, 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 everything's wonderful. It's not like that. But it does allow us to see what is precious while we're working through all the stuff that's not perfect. So the 12 powers that come to mind for me when talking about this aspect of gratitude is the power of will. And I tend to lean into willingness when I think of the power of will, because choosing to be grateful, even when, there is a crazy storm of stuff going on, choosing to be grateful, consciously choosing and practicing, and the power of love. So we know that we have the energy, the vibration of the moment, the existence that we want to be having. We're holding that. We are drawing ourselves into that experience of that, and the experience of good being present through our practice. And also the good old power of life, that power of life that we talked about a lot when we were talking about healing. Like when you cut your finger, your body knows what to do, right? Your body knows how to come back together. All right. I mean, I had surgery a few weeks ago. My body knows how to come back together. It knows what to do. And that is the power of life. It's just knowing that that's there, that's happening all the time. You don't have to work it, boss it, manage it, drive it. Just let it happen, and it will happen naturally. All right. Our last scenario that we're looking at today has to do with things that happen in the past. Right. Right. We have some audience reaction in the room. All that stuff, huh? Things that happen in the past. Well, it already happened. We can't do anything about it, right? Is that true? Our beliefs about what happened in the past are more often what's locking us into something that feels like it can't be changed. So how can gratitude transform things that happen in the past? So there's a woman that I know who came to class with me years ago, probably like, a decade ago. And she had mommy issues. So some of us might identify, you got mommy issues, got daddy issues, got sibling issues, whatever. Her backpack of stuff that she was carrying around was mommy issues. And her thing was, she was raised by a single mom who, was not demonstrative, never said anything nice, never said, I love you. If she didn't do things right, she'd get a whooping. This was a woman who, that was the time that she was talking about would have been the 40s and the 50s, when giving a child a whooping was probably pretty well on the list of how you parent. With, you do something wrong, get a whooping. So this woman she's carrying around this backpack of boulders of uh, of things that she, was like resentments and grudges she had with her mother. And as she aged and as she was kind of coming to class, and then all of a sudden she starts thinking about, wow, what must it have been like for my mom, being a single mother in the 40s and 50s, and not having a partner to help, and having two children. And apparently the way this household ran is that the mom worked all night long and then got home and did the breakfast, got everybody ready for school, and I guess caught some sleep during the day. But as this woman reflected, she started realizing that every time it was mealtime, or even, taking things to school, here's a couple things to eat, to take to school, every meal was healthy. Every meal was artfully presented. And she started to realize how much love was being demonstrated through, it's like she always had decent clothes. you know, they weren't torn up, they weren't stained, they were, you know, and so as a mature woman, she was able to, and she was using a gratitude practice, helped her to open up her perception of how things were when she was a child and helped to heal that. So using a gratitude practice can do that because healing can take place across timelines. And there is no time in that which we call God. There is no time in God. We have a sense of time as humans, and a lot of that is a construct that we've created. We've created a structure that says it's this time and the cuckoo clock will go off at that time. I mean, that's a structure, but in spirit, there is no time. And healing, practicing gratitude can then help you heal across timelines and reframe things and go, wait a minute. I might not have had the cuddly mom who would hold me in her lap and kiss my forehead and say, I love you, but I was cared for. And if you think of it from an adult perspective, you think of how hard that woman must have been working to raise two children in those circumstances. So these are all, these are all different ways that you can practice gratitude. Think about practicing gratitude as you become strong in your gratitude practice, however you do it. If you write out a gratitude list, or if you just have a mindset of noticing what to be grateful for as you go through your day, you can, when it comes to these things from the past, look back at troubled relationships, things that happened. Um, the gratitude practice can help you open to possibilities. We never know what's going on with other people. We don't know what's going on in their lives. Maybe they were short with you. Maybe they did something. So a gratitude practice helps soften those edges of that was wrong. They shouldn't do that. Helps soften those edges and heal those wounds so that you can ask yourself, um, looking back at a time, what is there now? What was there then that you can be grateful for to help you reframe something that you maybe have been carrying around in your life's backpack of things that hurt you? So here's a quote from an author named Miriam Raycroft from Stories That Heal. When we give thanks, we rewrite the story of our lives in the language of hope. So the 12 powers that I see in particular active with that, first off, would be the power of understanding. So on a spiritual level, that power of understanding is where we understand our own divine nature, because that which we call God is expressing at the point of us and every other person. And to be able to tap into that if you have a relationship issue with whatever the other whoever the other person was, to really be in that space of spiritual understanding. Our power of wisdom, right? So a lot of times as people, we don't know how to get through those awkward moments, do we? They're just but we can call on our power of wisdom, because spirit has all kinds of wisdom for us, that if we can quiet down everything that our brain is telling us, this is how you're supposed to do that, quiet that down, then we can be open to possibilities beyond that. And of course, last but not least, the power of release. So whatever it is you're carrying around in your backpack of resentments and memories, if you can intentionally let those things go. And that's one of our divine powers that we talk about in unity. So as we are winding up my talk here for today, we're going to move into our time of meditation. I kind of want to go back to what my title was for today. And I'm looking around because I had a tiny little thing I was going to show you. Oh, here it is. All right. So my title for today was clearing the path with gratitude. I don't know about you all, but this time of year, I have a heck of a time keeping my house clean because of all the leaves outside. So, the back of my house is this huge tree that I call the enthusiastic tree. The kind of tree it is, because we looked it up at one point, and there are quite a few of them in my neighborhood. I live in the Church Hill neighborhood of Richmond, which is the oldest. It's been a neighborhood since the 1600s. And there are a lot of these trees, and they're called Chinese lace bark elm. So, like the name sounds, they have beautiful bark. That's just very, and it looks like lace. And they can be different sizes, but this one that's behind my house is huge, but it has very small leaves. So I don't know if you can see this, but this is a typical leaf for this massive tree. I mean, and sometimes they're maybe a little bit bigger. They're kind of like, almond shaped or football shaped. And then there are like little pieces that are only like as big as the tip of your finger, and they stick to everything. And anytime anyone comes in the door, so like before I had my surgery, I like worked really hard to get my house clean because I'm not going to be able to do it for a few weeks. And then my husband Patrick went on a frenzy of ordering things on Amazon. So every time a package was delivered, here comes the package, and all the little leaves start going and sure enough, I thought, well, I'll bring a leaf to show you guys. And then sure as I'm unpacking my stuff here that we brought today, that my friend Jody and I helped me carry. And sure enough, here's the leaf that came with us because they stick everywhere. So one of the images that I like to use with spiritual practice, with meditation, is the image of sweeping. And so my title, Clearing the Path with Gratitude, I just have an image of just gently sweeping away all of those little bits and things that in our day to day we look up as problems and complications and things like that, and just gently sweeping those away. For those of you who were kind enough to come to the pre-op meditation that I invited people to, I used that in that meditation. So you heard me using that around the energy of the body. So we're going to kind of practice that, different aspects of this sweeping image as we move into our meditation. So let's all take a deep breath. Just focus on your breath right here, right now, as we create sacred space. And I want you to bring to mind an image of a broom. Whatever kind of broom shows up for you. Might be a push broom, might be an old-fashioned straw broom. Maybe you're a modern kind of kid and it's a Swiffer. Whatever it is, it's a broom. And your broom has a name. It's called gratitude. And gratitude is written right there on the handle. So as you use this broom in your day-to-day life, I want you to envision this broom clearing up all the crumbs and little leaves that you didn't notice, gathering up all the little bits of things that got dropped or forgotten, brushing away all the things that you might be carrying that aren't yours. Oh, that was sticking to me, but that's not mine. Just envision that broom tidying up. And the more you use the gratitude broom, the calmer you feel. And in the face of the noise from the news, you feel settled. When your brain offers up a list of all the things you should be worried about, just keep sweeping. And as we've talked about, your gratitude broom can move through time. It can go back to memories and clear up all the cobwebs, tidying up, restoring goodness where it may have been forgotten. What a delight it is to sweep up and practice gratitude. So I want you to keep feeling that easy sweeping motion as we move into the stillness together. As we begin to bring ourselves back to the current moment, you gently bring your attention to the breath. We're going to close our time of meditation with a little blessing, and this is from the Positive Prayer Wheel, which is available at unity.org. And a friend of mine got this for me as an ordination gift a few years ago. So this Thanksgiving, we remember the abundant blessings in our lives. We let our thoughts, words, and actions represent this day every day, for our blessings are ever present and our gratitude is overflowing. We can see Thanksgiving as an action, and we embrace each breath and each gift of life with gratitude. So we're going to close with an affirmation. And I always like to take my hand and put it right on my heart space when I say an affirmation. So it's not just floating around up here. It's anchored in the body and in the heart space too. So I'll say it once and then you can repeat it with me a couple of times. All right. The more I practice gratitude, the more I flourish. Say it with me. The more I practice gratitude, the more I flourish. One more time. The more I practice gratitude, the more I flourish. Yes, indeed. All right. Here you go, Chris. It's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Reverend Cheryl. So inspiring. And thanks to you for watching the weekly broadcast from Unity of Fredericksburg. Visit our website, uofva.org, and you can learn more about our mission of spiritual awakening and transformation. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Yay. Right. Let me close down the YouTube.